of Games My Mom Found. This week, before we get started, I want to do a quick plug. If you guys get a chance, please take a listen to a podcast called This Week in Video Games. It's a podcast all about the world of video games, from news, reviews, interviews, charts, and more. It's a British guy. It's actually pretty entertaining. I was listening to it. It's much more... I felt like listening to a documentary type thing, but it's really interesting. If you guys get a chance, please take a listen. And I am Mike Alberton, and who is with me today?
Hello, I am DJ Copeland.
Stefan JD.
And Stuart Hughes.
And I'm Kendall.
Our special guest today. And where are you from, Kendall?
You can find everything I do at kendallcast.ninja. I do a bunch of podcasts about comic books and Pokemon and music and whatever I feel like. But it's all there or at the Kendallcasts on iTunes and that stuff.
Stitcher.
And I'm on Stitcher too, aren't I?
Thanks to me.
Very cool.
Stuart, we'll try it for the third time. Do you want to introduce what game we're playing this week?
For the third time, I'm ready
Keep
to
picking on you.
So, this game is a game that I think every single person has played at some point, whether they remember it fondly or not, and it is GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64.
Oh,
I think this is one of those games where it doesn't need a big introduction because everybody knows it, I think.
Yeah.
They might not remember it clearly, but I think I want to say I don't know that I know anybody who hasn't at least touched GoldenEye 007 at some point.
Well, you knew me. You knew me, Stuart.
And you really never played it.
I had never played it, and you know what? I would have been perfectly happy never having played it. Having died, never having played this game.
Within my friend group,
content.
We consider this this was probably the first biggest game ever that I remember. How everybody knows Skyrim, everybody knows Fallout 3, everyone knows the big games. I feel like GoldenEye 007 was one of the first that people at least of this generation remember, really.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing it when it first. I want to say probably when it first came out in '97. I remember playing it. I remember having playing with my friends all the time and having just a great time with it. I mean, I couldn't believe how much was still in my memory when we played this for the show. I mean, almost everything was still there. I haven't touched this game in 2002, maybe the last time, and it's all still there.
This was the game where it's everybody got home from school and didn't even go home first. They immediately went to their friend's house with a Nintendo 64 to play 007 Gold.
Yeah, I think this game was, because I was talking to some people. My boss at work got really excited when I mentioned this game, and he's plays golf.
It's ingrained in people.
But I think the other thing about it is like you said, it's a particular generational thing, because it's people who are I'm 31, I think. People who are a year or 2 or 3 years older than me, if this hit when they were in high school, I think this was the game.
Yeah, this was
their Call of Duty of that generation, or
Call of Duty or Halo 1 or just any of the big shooters that come out. Even now, people still get super I feel like even now people still rally around playing Battle Royale games.
I would compare it to, culturally speaking, not stylistically speaking, but culturally speaking, I'd compare it to Super Smash Brothers Melee for a certain group of people, because that's when I was in college. That's what everyone was, super obsessed with.
It's gonna be like Fortnite today, but
exactly.
And the Wikipedia even says the game is frequently cited as one of the greatest video games of all time. I mean, I don't agree with that.
Many people whose jobs it is to review games say it is. I mean, this game was unbelievably important. Before this, you had games like Doom and Quake and stuff, and then GoldenEye 007 came out, and it's actually 3D, and the AI chases you around and moves with you. They're not just static elements. And it's the enemy, the actual enemy animations of them rolling out from behind corners and jumping around. They did that weird side shuffle jump.
Yep.
That was the coolest thing in the world as a kid.
Which makes no sense.
Also, it's a licensed game. So I mean, you could say it's probably one of the best licensed games ever made.
And we should mention too, this was a licensed game from a very strange era of just James Bond in general. So it had been a couple years since the last James Bond film, and in between films, the Soviet Union dissolved. And so they I remember there was a big like there was a big what do we do? Like we have this. I say I remember. I was very young at the time, but I remember reading about this a lot. There's like this big like oh, what do we do? Like Soviet Union's gone. Are they still going to be the bad guys? And they were like, no, we're going to completely redo Bond. It's Goldeneye 007, the movie, is not based on any James Bond book. It's not about the Soviet Union, really. It's about like just this power grab, this struggle that's like suddenly left by this vacuum.
Oh, it's 6 years after License to Kill came out with Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
But GoldenEye, the game, came out 2 years after the movie release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was another one of those things that struck me as kind of weird about this game, because this game came out in 1997, and that was the year that Tomorrow Never Dies was coming out. So they could have just made... I don't understand why they made GoldenEye and not Tomorrow Never Dies.
Well, GoldenEye was a big deal in terms of Bond. I mean, it was a new era. It was, first of all, it was Pierce Brosnan. And you could say like every new Bond is kind of a new era of Bond, but I feel like Pierce Brosnan was such a far and away difference between the old ones. I mean, for instance, for example, I rewatched the movie. I know Mike rewatched like all of the movies.
Oh, God.
But I rewatched GoldenEye, and I always forget, like, you know, it's got oh God, what's her name? Isabella Scorpio or Scorupco, I think. Natalia Simonova.
Oh,
and
I don't know her.
She's like as much of a main character as Bond is in the movie. It's such a like far and away difference between the old ones.
It's got Fam Jensen. That's all. That's all.
Famke Janssen.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So you guys have actually on previous episodes as well have brought up like how it's interesting when games kind of come out a little bit after, you know, a couple years after a movie or after a licensed property starts to die down. I think we forget in our like, you know, nobody ever cares about any Marvel movie except for the one that came out last week mindset, that like back in the 90s things were a lot slower, and so things that were big, they lasted, you know, they
hung around.
Oh, we talked about this in the Batman Genesis playthrough. Where like, this probably came out because some executive was like, hey, it's going to be a couple years in between movies here. We need to have something in the meantime to just keep that in the public eye. I mean, like the fact that we haven't gotten a new Star Wars in a couple, like when did Last Jedi come out?
2017.
Yeah,
2017. So we're due for the new one. Yeah. You know, the end of this year.
And that feels odd now. It feels odd that there wasn't like it feels odd that Episode 9 didn't come out last year. But that would be so like, imagine telling somebody in 1990 like, oh yeah, it's taking 2 years for them to make the next movie. Right. You would be like, okay, that seems really fast. I'm super excited.
And it's not even 2 years. It's really a year and a half because Solo came out last May.
Solo came out like 8 months later.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. It didn't get enough, but it's a good movie.
If you want to hear my thoughts on Solo, we did the Kendall Cast Star Wars Brain Trust did an episode back in May.
Nice segue, my friend.
You deserve that. That was good.
Gentlemen, this is what we need to aspire to. This is a professional right here.
And if you want to hear my thoughts on Solo, here it is. We summed up in that noise.
Tomorrow Never Dies came out in 97, so the same year that this game came out. I mean, there was a game for Tomorrow Never Dies also, but not on 64.
Then it came out a couple years after that.
I feel like Pierce Brosnan in general got some... I don't know if it was just like the era of games when there was like a lot of licensed games taking place, and they were all kind of... They weren't like just throwaway games. Like I feel like a lot of licensed games now are kind of just like, we're going to put out like a Star Trek game because we can. But like back in the 90s, licensed games were pretty good. Like making, you know, they weren't necessarily AAA, but they were all doing good things. Like the Bond ones in general. I mean, Agent Under Fire and Nightfire. Agent Under Fire had like drones you could drive around in multiplayer. That was awesome.
That's way later though than this one, because
that's true.
This is Rare's only Bond game they made, and then EA got the license right after this.
I mean, like was it kind of cool? Oh god, there's like Everything or Nothing. Everything or Nothing. Everything or Nothing was awesome.
Yeah, but we haven't really
around on motorcycles, and
that's a good game. But we haven't really dived into GoldenEye. One thing, like it wasn't until I just watched this movie recently, I didn't realize that the first part of the movie and the game, the dam facility, that whole area takes place 9 years before the rest of it.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah,
so like
I played the first third of the game. The first third to half of the game before I went back and watched for the first time GoldenEye the movie, and I was like, oh, this is where they're getting all these level designs from. And it actually really struck me how loyal some of those
They got like as
set
accurate
pieces
as they
were.
could.
Like, yeah, they got pretty damn accurate.
I
And
mean,
it felt legitimately cool. It's like, oh, I recognize, like, walking around it in the game. Okay, I recognize this exactly from the movie. And those are some pretty cool. I gotta say, those are some pretty cool sets.
that might be
those
my
are some
favorite
pretty
scene in the
cool
movie.
sets.
That opening dam sequence, because it's really cool, but also it hasn't like aged particularly well, because the higher quality you get, there's a part where Bond, quote unquote Bond, like almost like looks up at the camera, and you can tell it's obviously a stunt double now. Back when that was on VHS, it was a little harder to tell, but the guy looks up and you can see like the 5 o'clock shadow. And you're like, that's not Bond, that's not Pierce Brosnan. What's going on?
I remember because I played the game before I saw the movie, and I remember that dam is like, it's in the movie, but it's one little scene. But the level, the level's not very long, but I really like that first level a lot.
Yeah, it's very interesting because they take a lot of liberties with the way things happen in the movie, in the game. It's very loose. It's a very loose basis on the movie, and what that just allows them to put like the actual design and mechanics of the game first without having to like fit it into anything, while still delivering like a lot of really good fan service. I think honestly they made a lot of really smart choices on that end, because nobody really cares, especially when it's coming out 2 years after the actual movie. Nobody actually cares how accurate it is to the film.
Well, it does something nice, which I always really appreciated, where it was like you saw the movie, and then when you played the game, you got more of an idea of how Bond got to where he is in that scene. Like it'll be like, oh, he's just in a graveyard, and it's like in the game you're, it's not totally accurate. He's not fighting through a ton of people to get to the graveyard. But I was like, oh, that's really cool that it adds like that background.
It adds
of
context.
how I got here.
Yeah.
So in the movie, he just shoots everybody. That's the plot of the movie, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
basically.
Honestly,
He actually doesn't shoot that many people.
I thought it would be like less that, but honestly, there's kind of the same amount of shooting in the movie and the game.
Okay.
He shoots
Like,
a lot of like soldiers, but then
he
like the
like
main
all those
bad
moments,
guy, he
all those
never
moments
hits.
where you stand in a corridor and just like hold down the fire button and then wiggle the aim back and forth. Like that happens multiple times in the movie.
What
like,
you
he
realize
does
is that in the movie, when you realize you play the game and then you watch the movie and you're like, oh, I'm playing as the Russian soldiers who can't hit anything. This game has the movie has some bad stormtrooper aim going on with all the Russian soldiers.
Speaking of which, something I really appreciated about the game, probably my favorite part about this game, was the dying animations.
Oh, they're so great.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're all like bad actor dying poses.
Yeah,
like
it's almost like
guy's
theatrical. It's almost like a stage play.
You shoot them and they literally just jump to the side and go, yeah.
I mean, the movie's the same way. Watching the movie again, I was like,
sick of it.
The movie feels like you're watching a stage performance. It's so odd going back to it now. I don't know if it was just like that 90s way of shooting movies. But
I actually read an interview with one of the lead designers of this game. They actually they had a lot more gore in it before, and they got notes from Miyamoto. It's like, this is too gory. We don't want this to get like too real. I feel really bad for these guys who are getting all shot up. And so they're like,
Miyamoto
okay.
want them to have a scene at the end where James Bond goes and visits them in the hospital.
And it's like they're all okay. But
that'd be amazing.
But see, the direction they went in instead, which I think is genius, is they made it more theatrical. They made it very clear, oh, this is a movie. So they're going to die like people die in movies. And, there's like a Banjo-Kazooie style credit sequence at the end where you see them all, and they're waving at you. And it's like,
it does feel like that 90s movie ending where like everybody goes by and it's like the freeze frame almost of like, show a clip of the character in some point in the movie. I was just go playing Pierce Brosnan as.
Yeah, exactly. They were making it much more. They were making it feel much more like a production, which I think is.
It worked. It worked really well.
Because it's a film based on a movie, so they're like sort of rolling with that idea, in sort of in a slightly more meta way, and it worked.
And just like the elements, even like the other elements of the movie that worked its way into the game, like the whole watch face as a as a like pause screen, your health and your armor. That's just iconic at this point.
Yeah, that was actually really cool because you see toward the end, the secret bad guy Alec Trevelyan, who was the bad guy all along. Spoilers. Takes his watch and like disarms the bombs with it, and you're like, oh, that's what I was doing in the game. Like you can actually like the watch works like that. It's cool. It's really cool.
The one thing the game doesn't have, which I wish it did, was the bomb pin, because that bomb pin sequence in the movie is one of the most like tense moments. Where you can just it's just a close up of like Pierce Brosnan's eyes, just like counting the clicks of the pin. That's so good.
That's so good.
It is it's a great film too.
Like, it's not bad.
It's one of the better Bond films.
I consider it the quintessential Bond film. It's got a little bit of everything that makes Bond good, and it also does a lot towards pushing Bond to the future. I mean, Judi Dench showing up as M. There's a reason Judi Dench was M for like 20 fucking years. She is perfect in it.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
The evil queen of numbers, as they call her.
Yeah.
One scene I did like that I thought they did well in the game too, like in the movie where he goes in the facility and he sees the guy in the bathroom. I mean, everyone who starts that game, you drop in the vent, you shoot the guy in the head in the stall next to you. Everyone does that. You have to.
You have to.
That's the facility is my favorite level for multiplayer because it's the only level that I don't get lost in.
The facility was my favorite level in multiplayer because I memorized where the Moonraker laser spawned, and I would sit in the bathroom and shoot out the door, and nobody could get to me.
Complex was my favorite. I love Complex. I knew that place. I didn't play multiplayer this time for the game because I only had one USB controller, so I didn't. So I was just playing. I didn't try multiplayer.
It's also a good way to lose your friends.
Complex was my level back then.
I feel like I was losing out because I was slightly too young for this game when it came out, so I never played the multiplayer, and I wasn't able to do it this time because obviously.
This is the game that got
that's like a huge component of this.
Yeah.
Yes. I told my wife that I was playing through the single player campaign, and she was like, "There's a single player campaign?"
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to do it to unlock parts of multiplayer, didn't you?
Well, or you could just buy a used copy of the game that already has all that stuff on.
Or get a Game Shark. Oh man, those Game Sharks.
Oh, we should say, did all of us finish it for this episode?
Hell no.
I got up to the very last. I got up to Aztec, and I beat through the entire game on 00 agents, and just
still impressed.
I would not get through Aztec.
I'm still fucking impressed by that, man. That is.
This game just clicks with me. I should say the first time I played this game, I actually made somebody cry. This was like I had never played a video game before ever. I think I was like 4 when this came out. No, I was 5 when this game came out, I think. So I was 4. I played it like a little bit after. And this was, I mentioned on an earlier podcast too, I had that asshole that would buy games and play them for 2 weeks early so that he would get really good at them. And like, he wouldn't play any games with us after we got good enough to beat him. He's just like that kind of prick. He's the kid that changes the rules in the middle of the game. Like, oh, we can't do that anymore because I'm not winning anymore. So he got this game, sat down, like practiced with it, got really good, showed up, and he was like, okay, finally everyone else is allowed to play GoldenEye 007 because I'm good enough with it that I can beat you all. So everyone else is allowed to play it now. And I was like, what's this? And he's like, it's 007 GoldenEye. I was like, what is that? He's like, it's a video game. It's like, what's a video game? It's like, all right, you're in. Yeah, I can beat you, no problem. I sat down, and I don't know what it was. It just clicked with me. I was like, oh yeah, video games. I get this. And I beat him 20-1, and he cried, and we weren't allowed to play the game for a week.
Why are you so mean, Stuart?
It was like that moment. He ran out of the room crying, and I was like holding the controller. I was like, yes, this is going to be my life.
Yeah, I'm the
predict
guy
this will
in
be
that
very
story.
important.
I'm the guy that runs out of the room crying. This game was so 2 things about this game. One, this game was my first experience of modern games suck. Retro games are so much better because I was, as a 12-year-old, I was like, no, video games peaked at Super Nintendo. You know, all this polygonal stuff is garbage.
Here.
which I guess I was kind of right. Like long term, you could say, especially when you're talking about early polygonal stuff.
Yeah, didn't age great.
But just like polygamy stuff.
The other
early polygamy stuff was great.
The other thing is, I played in a band a couple years ago. Up until oh my god, it was 7 years ago. I'm old. And I had a song called "Bad at Video Games," and this was one of the songs one of the games that song was that was featured in that song. The second verse is all about Goldeneye and how I'm bad at how I get lost, because this was also the first like multiplayer shooter where I would just get lost in the maze, and I'm just bad, and I just at some point you have to come to terms with the fact that you're bad at video games. And I did not finish this game. I got to the train level on easy mode and spent literally 4 hours trying to cut a hole in the floor. And then I decided, you know what? I think this is the brick wall that I'm not going to pass.
Yeah, your experience was very similar to mine.
How far did you get?
Less far than that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, it was bad. I will say straight off, I don't like shooters in general. Like, it's just not my genre. And to my way of thinking, like, the least interesting mechanic you could possibly put in a video game is shooting someone. Because it's literally the simplest, most brain dead thing you could ever build a game around. You just point at a place on the screen and then you press a button and the guy dies. And that's it. And that's what you're going to like. There's so many more interesting things. There's so many more interesting mechanics that exist that you can like build on or create or like link together to make something that's a lot more interesting.
Well, my answer to that would be sometimes the guy you point at and click a button and he dies. Sometimes he's trying to do the same thing to you, and that's where the tension comes from.
He's successful.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like,
but
I don't like shooters aren't my favorite game. I don't think. I'd say my favorite game is probably like JRPGs right now for whatever reason. I'm just really into them, but
because they're great.
Because
they're great, Stuart. Because they're much better than shooters.
I beat 007 GoldenEye very quickly, and then I was like, oh man, I'm starting Bomberman for next week. I'm gonna do all this stuff, and like I got some free time right now. Like school's kind of slowed down. I'm gonna start a JRPG. It's like really casually. Just start a JRPG.
And you are describing my exact. I'm in the middle of like 2 different JRPGs right now.
I got done with 007 GoldenEye, and I was like, oh, Shining Force or Shining Resonance Refrain is on sale.
Oh, hello, Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition.
So when's the Shining? Speaking of, when's the Shining Force episode?
In 5 years when we.
Hey, the first one's not that long.
Yeah.
But
it's
also good game.
I think
it was a great
DJ
game.
and I are both in a constant state of trying to find a JRPG we can beat in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Basically. We just about kind of almost did it with Golden Sun, and then we were like, that was way too much effort.
Yeah, that was like like we all finished it, I think, right under the wire.
Yeah.
I think what happened was all like 3 of us finished the episode, and then the Skype call started like a minute later.
Exactly.
It was close to it.
Yeah.
I finished a little sooner, but only because I was anticipating playing it, so I started like 3 weeks ahead of time.
I started ahead of time too on that one. It was Stefan was playing the Golden Sun with Leon and Claire in it during that time.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if you weren't, I would have been. So.
Stefan, how far?
I've definitely played through the first Shining Force game in a week. I want to say I definitely have. That's one of those games that I've powered through before.
I think it's on our list of wants. Want to try it?
Right. I figure you guys. I put 20 hours into GoldenEye these past 2 weeks, and still only got 2/3 of the way through the game.
Yeah.
I should check to see what my actual time played was, because I was burning through this early game. I remember these levels so well still.
The early game
is... bully for you, Stu.
Well, some of us didn't have a game system, and the only game at the friend's house that was fun was GoldenEye 007.
I mean, I beat the game on Agent. I was trying to go through on Secret Agent, but it kept... Well, Bunker 2 is hell, because they just don't stop respawning. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I'll skip Bunker 2, I'll do Statue. And I was doing Statue, but my cartridge, can't see what I'm doing with my hands, quotations, the gates wouldn't open after I finished the level. So I'm like, screw this, I'm done. So then I'm like, you know what, I played enough of this game. I got enough to talk about. I've seen enough. I'm done. So I stopped there.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who had that experience. This has been very healing for me. Very healing experience. Thank you.
You guys actually have nothing to complain about. When I had this game when I was when did it come out again? 97?
97.
Yeah.
I would play multiplayer with all my friends in my room with 4 controllers on a 13-inch television screen.
Oh yeah, it was like the only way you could play. Back on the old shitty standard def TVs that everybody had 2 inches of screen that they were allowed to use.
Which I can't even imagine because, like, even so, I have
It's
a
all
nice.
you had. It's
I have
all
a
we
nice,
had,
like,
DJ.
I have a nice, normally sized flat screen. Okay. I also have an original N64, and I got specially an actual cartridge just for this playthrough. And I put it in, I turned it on, and it looks like dog crap.
Yeah,
It just looks like it's awful. Everything's gray. The draw distance is like 2 feet. You can't see anything.
You gotta have a CRT TV. It looks so much better on a CRT TV. I am not even joking. I had until relatively recently, I had my retro gaming setup plugged into a CRT TV with the regular flat. It's like the couch, then the CRT TV, and then the regular flat screen, so I could watch Netflix. I almost reset up the CRT TV setup for this, but I did run out of time because work has mandatory overtime. But that's another.
I mean, all of us but DJ, I think, had the rose-colored glasses for the nostalgic for this game. Like, I thought the game looked
I
fine.
have no nostalgia for this whatsoever.
Which is good, because we needed that. We're all like, hey, this game is fun. I'm like,
you guys are all fawning over this game. I'm like, what are you seeing here? What are you seeing?
It's not what we see. It's what we saw. The memories, DJ. The memories.
Another thing about this
arguments
game
with 1v1 golden gun matches.
By the way, can we just talk really quick about the controls and how god awful they are, and how
I thought they were
just
fine.
in general? I'm just gonna say in general, nobody should ever have to play a shooter with right stick aiming.
Nobody should ever have to do anything with a Nintendo 64 controller anymore. Okay, I know people have this weird people have this weird love of the N64 controller, of like how great it is now. And like, yeah, it worked when it worked, but that's something I feel like even nostalgia can't cover. Like, that controller was such.
So first question: you aimed in this game?
Yeah, I did. I
did. I just used the auto aim.
Yeah, I can't believe you guys
auto aim
as well.
I would say like 80% of the kills I got were with the aiming features.
How? Like, it doesn't
I'm
give
fast.
you enough time. Like,
quick. What you gotta you can't like really go out of your way to do it. You have to pretty much get you gotta pretty much get whatever you're shooting at in the center of your screen, and to just use the auto aim really quickly to like pop up any of the
I didn't even know there was auto aim. I was trying to aim. So that's why. Okay, well, here's what happened.
You have to use the auto aim for like the turrets. The turrets are just too hard to get with auto aim quickly.
I hit the turrets. Yeah, with the aiming.
Yeah.
But that's
okay, here's what I did. I played the first level. I died. I said, "Fuck this," and then I loaded up the hacked emulator that makes it so that you can use a mouse and keyboard.
There you go.
And then I just played the game that way.
I don't understand how you did this with a mouse and keyboard, because I did this with a mouse and keyboard a couple years ago, and it's just like, it just wasn't working for me. I have to use a controller for it.
I mean, when I first picked up the 64
I don't understand that.
For this game, I mean, it felt so weird. I didn't know how to hold it again. I'm like, it's been too long. My brain can't comprehend this stupid thing.
You pick the game up. Somebody hands you a controller. First thing you do is you pause it. You go to settings and you turn it to the second controlling scheme, which is solitaire, which I still remember because that was essentially the left. Yeah, that was like left control. Like the analog stick moves you, and then the C buttons are your aiming. So it's more of a modern controller setup, and that was like the easiest to use.
So with that setup, does it, if you left on the stick would strafe?
Like with the standard setup, it had the weird thing of left and right on the stick strafes, up and down moved your camera up and down for some reason. And then with the C buttons, rather than a controller, it was like that up and back moved you forwards and backwards, and left and right moved your camera.
It's so awkward.
I must have used solitaire then. Because I messed around with the different control schemes. Yeah. I also was using a Retro Fighters modern N64 controller. It was a Kickstarter thing that I backed about a year ago, where it plugs into an N64, but they move the buttons around so it's more like a GameCube or an Xbox 360 controller. That makes all N64 games infinitely easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yet I still only got 2/3 of the way through the game on easy.
Well, treating it with the solitaire controls is actually just like playing like Doom if you use the strafe a lot. So it actually kind of makes sense. You use them that way.
Yeah, it's just way easier.
Speaking of Doom, did anyone find any hidden walls they could move or click on?
No, I didn't this time.
This time around, no. I mean, that's how you have to beat Aztec. So I only did that on Aztec.
Yeah, the one of the times that you rescue Natalia and she tries to kill herself.
There's a hidden door in Archive somewhere.
There was a hidden door in that one. Yeah, it just took me back to a room that I had already been to, so I was really frustrated. But
it's a secret. This is all from memory. If I remember correctly, there's a secret way to get into the room she's in an Archive where you come behind the guards and you shoot them, but I couldn't. Yeah. I was looking for it because, I played this game so much
like a speed run, because I know there's still people that speed run this game, and a lot of it is like getting through the secret walls or finding a way to break the map.
So I got really good at most of the train level to the point where I watched a speed run, and I think the speed run took longer than it took me to get to the end of the level. But then I still couldn't freaking cut through the goddamn floor. And one time I did cut through the floor, but Natalia didn't follow me out fast enough.
She was busy,
so I failed the mission. No, she had already hacked the computer. She was like, "I'm gonna come after you."
AI is not the most intelligent in this game. Sometimes
it has not aged particularly well.
Yeah.
So,
although, I mean, it was still impressive at the time. At the time, I remember thinking, like, "Wow, these enemies, like, they know where I am. They're coming for me." They open doors to come get me.
Oh, and they're directly behind me with no warning, and they just shot away half my health. That's good. I like it.
It's just like Dark Souls.
Hey,
no, I'm sorry. Please indicate to me where in Dark Souls there's hit scan. Where is the hit scan in Dark Souls, sir?
I don't know what that word means.
I don't know.
It basically means it's how shooters started working sort of after Doom, where instead of visible bullets that traveled across the screen, basically as soon as you click the button, you damage them. Like there's no actual projectile. It's just that's one of the things I really dislike about shooters. Actually.
There was an issue with
you will take damage. There's no avoiding it. You will get shot because it's hit scan. There's nothing to dodge.
Wasn't that the issue with Hanzo in Overwatch, where he could shoot people behind walls because
if
his
bullets,
the hitbox that he had with his hit scan on his arrows was like so stupid big, and
bullets though you can't dodge bullets like in real life.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Unless you're Neo.
Think about earlier. That's the point, because earlier in game history, thinking about something like Mega Man, where there were physical bullets that traveled across the screen, and you could dodge those, and it was like. That feels like a much more fair challenge because you can see what's coming at you and you are given a chance to avoid it. Whereas I just have a pet peeve about games.
Was being able to hit somebody with your
hand. I have a pet peeve about games where you can get hit just without warning, like not even having the indication that someone was going to attack you. Like that just to me does not feel like good game design at all.
See, that's why I like some games. Like PUBG works really well on that idea of like just stay hidden. Like the game is really about staying hidden. And if you see somebody before they see you, you've got them. If somebody sees you before you see them, they've got you. The idea isn't like the difficulties in shooting somebody. It's not getting seen before you have to shoot.
Okay, them. that I'm okay with.
I think that works really well for games like
around that. Then that's fine. But literally, like. There are some shooters, including this one, where literally you just walk around and then you get hit, and you're like, "Oh, okay, I just got hit."
This is gonna be like we're gonna need like 5 more podcasts to explain.
Well, you need to
why shooters are fun to teach.
So this is okay. So I'm gonna say why I think it's like Dark Souls.
I'm sorry, man. That sort of shit's a pet peeve of mine. Like that's the reason.
Okay.
That's the reason I never liked the
Halo's gonna be so fun to play.
ATB system in Final Fantasy games. I don't like that I can get hit while I'm in menus. That doesn't feel fair to me.
Well, yeah, so definitely pretty good. That
I got hit a lot while I was in menus when I was playing Dark Souls.
There is no positive Dark Souls.
So the reason that I'm saying that it's like Dark Souls, when after you die a million times in Dark Souls and you finally get through a thing, it's because you have all the little traps and tricks memorized.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, in the fucking train level, because I keep bringing it up because I played it for 6 hours. Like there is a spot like that where you walk by and there's a bunch of locked doors. It's a corridor because it's a train. And there's a bunch of locked doors, and when you get to a certain point, then the guys come out and shoot you. Well, I had that memorized, so I knew exactly when they were going to come out, and I would turn around, and they do take, if it's on easy mode, they take like 5 seconds to pull their gun up, so you have a chance to shoot them.
Yeah.
So that's where I totally get what you're saying about the being able to dodge and stuff, but I think there is something to the game design there still.
Right.
I
agree. I mean, there is. That's what more recent stuff like, for example, Cuphead is built around. It's built around bullshit that you didn't see coming, but you die, and then very, very quickly you get to try again, and it's all about building up that sort of knowledge of what's coming at you. The thing for me personally, and I get that this isn't how it is for everyone. Once you are in a 3D first-person perspective, for me, that gets way harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for whatever reason, it's just way harder for me to have a grasp on my environment when I am in a first-person perspective like
That's where
that.
it comes down to games giving you like cues and stuff. I mean, like Tomb Raider does it brilliantly with the traps, so you can see them in Tomb Raider vision, which you have for some reason, or like you'll see traps on the walls, things will shine, like stuff like that is what calls out those instances. It's like, okay, this killed me before, and it's got like a little red box above it, and now I know whenever I see that little red box, I need to be on edge.
So, and the other thing is it's interesting you mentioned the first person perspective. I do feel like modern games have favored third person perspective over first person perspective a lot. So that may be like where your like
it's just there's
background
something
is or whatever.
There's something so disorienting about it to me.
So as long
I
as
always play first person if I can. I play first person in like battle royale games. I think I'm one of the few people that does that.
When I played this game, when I started playing it, the first, it was actually a couple years ago when I like first got my Nintendo 64 and got into stuff, and I played through this game. My first feeling was like, oh, this feels like, and I said Doom, although I never actually played Doom when I was a kid. I played Wolfenstein and I played a bunch of Doom knockoffs.
Everyone knows what Doom felt like, though.
Yeah, like this is. But
you
I was
played
like, this
a
is
game that was based on Doom.
Yeah, like it. There's no jumping. You're walking around mazes. You're shooting. There is a little bit more 3D in this, but it's not like, I mean, Dark Forces has platforming in it, which is platforming is pretty hard when you can't see your feet.
Yeah.
Platforming is one of those things that's only just now gotten really good.
And
in first-person shooters.
Yeah, in general, I think. I mean, platforming in games, like there's some games built around like Mario that have worked well, but just like whenever you have a platforming as a secondary feature in a game, that's one of those things. It's taken years to get that right.
Yeah, and I think the third person perspective makes platforming a lot easier. Because you can see your feet, you can see the platforms.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, so I will say I was like very comfortable. I was like, oh, this is, I know what this is. Now I was bad at it, and then the part that I got stuck at, like the stuff that I got stuck on was not shooting enemies, especially because I was on easy mode. It was clunky puzzles.
Man, we need to talk about Mirror's Edge at some point. that's all I'm thinking of that game right now. That's another show, but that game did so much to push platforming forward in first person.
Another thing that like I thought was really cool about the game we hadn't mentioned yet is in the different difficulties. Besides the enemies being more assholes, you had different objectives, which I thought were really
additional objectives. Yeah,
additional objectives, and in Double O Agent, I don't think they did it as much in the other ones, but in Double O Agent, you'd have like constantly 3 guys coming after you if you set the alarms off.
That was the part of the formula I actually kind of liked, because this is a formula, this sort of mission-based shooter. This is something they developed further that we saw later in like Perfect Dark and Time Splitters and stuff like that.
So like the more modern variants, I'd say, are like Splinter Cell.
This was the first time they did that. I feel like I would much better like the sort of later versions of this formula where they sort of worked out the kinks, because it's very difficult to know. It's a lot of trial and error as to what you're even supposed to do, like what they're referring to. Or like you'll finish
basic.
You'll finish all of your objectives, and then you'll be like, okay, I finished the objectives, and the mission isn't over. What do I do? And there were a couple levels where I never found the exit. Where I was just like, okay, I know I did all the objectives. I just don't know where to. Like, I've checked every door. I can't leave. What the fuck?
It's a maze. You just gotta feel like you gotta like remember where you were and get out. I always like that.
That sort of I'm not a fan of that sort of maze-like level design, man.
This game doesn't give you a map. I think a map would probably go a long way towards helping it.
This is something that
this was a base game that's been improved upon greatly already.
By the way, that is a running problem with Rare and with the people who worked there who have gone on to do other things, is that they are convinced that their levels don't need maps when they very much need maps.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that Bonsai Barber for the WiiWare needs a map? That's the last thing that Martin Hollis did.
A joke that I know at least one person listening to the show will get. I never knew this, so I had the Wikipedia opened up. David Doak is the writer of the game, and there's a guy in the facility, Dr. Doak, that gives you the door decoder on Secret Agent and Double Agent.
This game's also just filled with all the enemies in the games. They're all based on the developers. Every face you see in the game is like a developer or somebody who worked on the game.
Rare did a lot of that, didn't they?
First-person shooters would go on to just continue doing that too. I mean, Halo, you can find all the Halo games are just packed with like the developers or people they like and just stuff like that. Like little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I feel like that became kind of like a staple of gaming in general. Is, hey, we want to find a way to get everyone's faces in here, make them the enemies.
I think another reason why this game is also so revered is because it never got re-released, and it never will. You will never be able to play it other than the 64 cartridge unless you other ways, but it never.
Well, there's the Wii version that's not as good.
There's a Wii.
There's a Wii version.
The
that's
Wii
not
was a Nintendo
really
console that came out.
Oh, you're talking about the one that didn't get released, right?
No. There's a GoldenEye 007 remake that came out on the Wii.
That's terrible. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, it's okay, but it's one of those things where like they tried to capture the essence of this game, and it's like DJ said, like we have nostalgia for this game. That's why we love it, or that's why I love it at least.
I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't.
I genuinely love this game because I just remember playing it at friends' houses, and I have this like history with it. It was the first game I ever played. It's like ingrained in what kinds of games I play now and stuff. Like just how I would go about. I'd go to a friend's house and we'd like sit down. We'd play multiplayer all day. That became like a thing that I do now. I just play games with friends. Like that's such an important starting point to such an important part of how I have fun. So like. I have that nostalgia for going back and playing that game, but when you go back and play the Wii version of it, it's like, it's just not the same. It's like, it's a different game. It's like pretending to be it. And I think their issue was like, they probably had a really big argument developing it over, do we want this game to be more accurate and to hold on to that like nostalgia factor? Or do we want to try to make it like really modern and
do we want to make it playable?
Yeah. Do we want? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Do we want to make it like fun to play, or do we want to go for that nostalgia factor?
I think most Wii games they decided they didn't want to make them playable.
Yeah,
they wanted it to be a terrible experience.
This is true, but it's like it's one of those like issues you always come up with when you try to remake anything, and it's hard to nail that like balance between playability and leaving in all the old jank so that people still love it.
Okay, we'll come back to this in a future episode when we discuss the Metroid Prime trilogy, because...
Well, I mean, we played Resident Evil 2. We talked about about Capcom's ability to remake a game, why that's so impressive.
Yeah.
The Resident Evil games they play so much better now than they ever did in the past, but they still have like enough of that kind of weirdness about them
because you still can't move and shoot at the same time. You still have that really restrictive inventory system. Like they kept all the stuff that's actually important.
The writing is still kind of goofy. Like they made the writing better, but it's still like just a little goofy, and it's really hard campy. To nail that balance.
They know exactly what the experience is. They're just doing a more refined version of it.
That's a very difficult thing to do, and I don't want to say like the who it was Activision and Eurocom, I think, that made the Wii one, and it's not like they did a bad job. They didn't make like a bad game. They just didn't make a game that they just didn't have that balance there. It's not bad. It's just it's not the same. It could never be the same.
I mean, like, this is a game that I feel like, like DJ ran into, he had no rose-colored glasses, and he really didn't enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
Where for
I
all
don't
of us,
see it, guys. Sorry.
Which, no, I mean, I know, like, when I was playing it and I'm having fun, I know it was all just me experiencing my, being a kid again. I mean, that's all it was. Like, this game it doesn't hold up anymore.
You don't play this game to have fun. You play this game because
Honestly,
it was difficult. Like you played as a kid for some reason. You just want to go back to that.
Here's the thing. I actually want one of you guys to put like Perfect Dark or Time Splitters game on the list now, because
I played. Okay, so a couple years ago, I went back and I played 007 Goldeneye and Perfect Dark. I will say Perfect Dark, while slightly better, still has a lot of issues.
Okay, let's skip that one then.
So,
I mean, it's fun to play. It'd be worth playing, but it still has like a lot of the same weirdness about it.
So I did want to bring this up, and this is something that probably that somebody has to bring up on every single podcast about a retro game ever. But you do have to remember that this game came out in a world, and it was made for people who had 2 games for their N64.
Yeah.
And they were not trying to play through the entire campaign in 1 week. The way that you would play through, this is a Dark Souls. It's a get good. So you'd play through the first level on Agent, and then the second level on Agent, and then the third level you get stuck. So then you'd play through the first level on Secret Agent and the second level on Secret Agent, and then you just sort of very, very slowly working your way through the game, and probably put 50 or 100 hours into it by the time you get to the end, as opposed to just kind of trying to power through it.
No, I'm perfectly aware of that, and I get that. Like, a lot of my frustration with this game is because I'm an adult who's trying to play through it in a week, so I can talk about it on a podcast. But also in a less general way, I'm an adult now, and this is how games have sort of changed in general over the course of our lifetimes, is that the audience has grown up, they have less free time, and there's sort of less tolerance for games that require that degree of learning and that kind of time investment to even like get through. Like essentially we're talking about a 6-hour game that takes a few months to get through.
Well, speaking to that as well, I mean, if you look at all the unlockable levels and guns, all of that would be DLC today.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Plus, if you want a golden gun, you got to pay $1. Yeah. If you want to play Aztec, $5.
No. Sorry, Stefan. It wouldn't be DLC. It would be a chance of an unlockable release of a loot box. Is what it would be.
There you go. Yeah.
It's you play for 40 hours and then you get 1 loot box, and there's a 1.01% chance of it being a golden gun and a 95% chance of unlocking that Natalia's skin that you already have 7 of.
Especially if EA had the license.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good you brought that up. I mean, EA got the license right after this, but Rare had it for 5 years. This is the only game they made, though, during that 5-year time.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know that either.
I'm
looking up stuff as we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Perfect Dark didn't come out until 2000, right?
Yeah, that was 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I have really good memories of Perfect Dark, but so if we do that eventually, I'll be in the same boat and all the nostalgic. So yeah.
Basically, any game we play from the 64 era is going to be difficult because it's like the end of that kind of. It's not like the hard end, but it's like right on the edge of the end of like the 2D games being like the main thing that people played, and right before 3D games were like taking off and everybody had a 3D game.
Well, right before we really had the hang of it.
Yeah. It's because it was like, I don't want to say it's the end of 2D games, but it's like right at the end of their biggest popularity, where it's like, okay, 2D games have been around for a while. This is like the era where everybody's learned how to make a really good 2D game, and now we're changing the entire formula and it's 3D. It's going to take a while to get 3D to the same level.
Which is why I think Goldeneye holds up actually pretty well, because at its core, it is an iteration off of Wolfenstein and Doom
Yeah.
and introduce some new elements, but at its heart, it's a game where you're running around with a hand with a gun.
Yeah, the fact that it was 3D wasn't it was a big selling point, but
Yeah,
it's still like basically Doom.
well, I mean, another big
It's a
selling point
maze
was
shooter.
another big sell point was it's Bond,
Yeah,
and
it's not just Bond; it's Goldeneye.
it's Goldeneye.
It's the new Bonds.
Yeah,
And lots of Bond references throughout this game.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know about.
yeah.
I mean, even the the unlockable multiplayer characters you can get Jaws and Baron Samedi, who are the
Odd
previous
Job.
Bond,
Odd Job.
previous Bond characters. This game was like it was like a retelling of Goldeneye, and it was also kind of like a love letter to the old Bonds. I mean, the Moonraker laser showing up and the Golden Gun. It was just like all the things you know about Bond, all the like iconic things are going to be thrown in here.
Okay, so here's something I wanted to briefly touch on. Mostly before this week, mostly what I had mostly only seen the Daniel Craig Bond movies, and that was when they sort of started distancing themselves from like the goofiness and maybe the less savory aspects of the character.
Oh no, that was Goldeneye, my friend. Goldeneye, M sits down with Bond and calls him a misogynistic pig.
Goldeneye still has some real 90s cheese.
It definitely does,
like
but
some
that
real
Goldeneye
nice,
was the first Bond
thick.
to push it away from we're gonna have female protagonists, and I might point out Bond had because this is worth saying. Isabel whose name I cannot say, Isabel Scorupco.
Natalia
Simonovka was not just a lead female character in a Bond film. Not only was she like half of the main characters, but she was a computer genius. Like that's so rare.
I think the word you guys are looking for is it wasn't pulp anymore.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Because here's the point I was getting at is because I wanted to compare this movie to what people consider quote unquote classic Bond. I watched Goldfinger and then I watched Goldeneye.
Amazing movie.
Bond, okay, you and I have two very different takeaways because Bond in Goldfinger is much less what I imagined as Bond than Bond in Goldeneye. Bond in Goldeneye is what I imagined. Okay, that's James Bond, because Bond in Goldfinger is just like a horny drunk idiot who fucks up everything and only wins fights by by just picking up and throwing whatever happens to be next to him at the time.
That's the early movies.
You're just describing Sean Connery.
I made a joke in the group where I was like, "Oh, being Bond." I'm like, "Oh, you mean you just you get caught all the time and accidentally, win situation?" That's what it was. Like he wasn't
a drunken
this
asshole womanizer storming your way through everything.
Hey,
well, it's like every Bond also has its own little thing. Like that was Sean Connery's big thing was like how kind of ridiculous. Like people always say like, oh, his was the more serious than Roger Moore's, but like Sean Connery was like way up there in terms of he's just like a drunk asshole. You can tell like he's had a lot of things. Yeah. You can tell like he's been drinking quite heavily while filming. He's got his toupee on.
You expect me to talk, Mr. Bond? No, I expect you to die.
Yeah.
I could quote Goldfinger all day, but I'm not just.
That's the only line I know from Goldfinger. So I think part of the reason that the Daniel Craig movies, at least this is like what people on the internet say, part of the movies, the reason the Daniel Craig movies moved away from the sort of the misogyny and the whatever. I didn't see any of the Daniel Craig movies, but I did see the best Austin Powers movie. I was gonna make a joke. Austin Powers is the best Bond movie.
It's pretty.
That was my joke.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll smooth it out.
You got there.
They'll get the gist.
Anyway, getting back to the game, did you guys have a favorite level that you guys like to play? Because I think mine was the Cradle.
Frigate by far. Specifically because on Frigate you get the dual Phantoms, and that was my favorite gun. And I thought those two things were like the coolest guns ever. The two SMGs that each had 50 rounds, and you could just never stop firing.
I think it would be the Frigate if I didn't have to save hostages. That's the only downside for me on that level.
Just
play it on easy mode.
Just get good at aiming.
I liked Surface.
Surface. I'm surprised you didn't say jungle because jungle is the easiest level.
No, man, Surface.
What the hell?
Surface was actually cool. Like, first of all, again, these are the level designs that I like, that I think are the level designs that Rare should gravitate more toward if they're not going to put maps in their games, because it's this, again, we went over this a little bit in the Banjo-Kazooie episode. It's this nice, big, open, centralized area that's arranged around the big satellite dish. Mm-hmm. And you can actually get up on these towers and you can look around and you can see and you can look in the sniper rifle and pick guys off, and you can go and break into the cabins and ransack the place and find things. And I thought it was awesome. Like that was the most fun I had with that game was the surface level.
Surface is a good level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good level. I would say the surface too is a little creepy as well in the nighttime.
Yeah. Okay, it's like almost it does have a very horror vibe to it, even though there's no zombies or anything, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah, like you just can't see. It's got like that. Not only does it have the draw distance of the game, but like the kind of mist that's everywhere. It's just super creepy.
I mean, for some reason,
it's like Silent Hill. It's just this huge open area, but you can't see anything in the distance.
I like caverns a lot. I mean, I just played on Agent, so I know it gets harder, but I just like the look at that level when I was a kid, and I still like the look at that level as an adult.
Like all the levels too were so wildly different looking too.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like that really played into like how interesting they all were.
They're almost all in the movie except for really Launch Silo number 4 is the only one that and caverns that aren't in the movie in any shape or form.
Yeah, I mean you don't go back to the bunker in the movie either.
No, but there is a bunker. You don't go to the bunker at all in the movie, but
the bunker is the Goldeneye facility that gets blown up in Severnaya.
Yeah, but
they took some real liberties here, but again, it's
because
a
in the
small
movie
price
it's
to
that
pay
like old Cold War era building. In the movie in the game it's like very clean and
I liked the streets level because I just got the tank and just ran over everybody.
Yeah, this game had a vehicle section.
That was actually my favorite part of the movie, where he's just like in this tank, just completely stone faced, just totally deadpan in a tank, literally plowing through buildings.
He has one
like,
moment.
oh my god, yes, more of this.
He has one moment where he smirks, and that's when he's driving his tank. If anyone hasn't seen the movie, they need to, because he's driving his tank to the city. He crashes through a statue of the guy on a horse.
And it's just on top of the tank.
It's on his tank. Yep. And he hits like one of those like skyways, and the horse gets stuck in it and falls down and crushes 2 cop cars. And because it's like, a cheesy 90s movie, you see the cops get out and like run away, like they're fine, even though their cars are completely destroyed. At some point, he runs over a cop car with his tank, and the cop gets out of the crushed cop car and is fine.
How does that work?
But like the horse falls in the 2 cop cars, and this is the only time he isn't stone-faced. He looks back at the 2 cop cars and turns around, fixes the tie, and smirks and drives off like Jesus, Bond, you crazy bastard.
I mean, I loved that. That was
sneaks up on a train with a tank.
I like that train.
Yeah, no, that was like that's the perfect balance between like the sort of suave, like debonair, slick Bond, and then just the Connery version, who's just batshit insane.
That's
and
why
literally
this is the quintessential Bond movie. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got the campiness, it's got the cheesiness, but also it pushes everything forward.
Oh man, and it's got dad jokes.
Yeah,
it's got every single one of Pierce Brosnan's one-liners it's just a dad joke caliber, just awful.
It's still got
I was just slapping my forehead the entire movie.
Can we mention the Q joke where he picks up his sandwich?
Yes.
Oh yeah. No, I saw that coming from a mile away. It's like, don't touch that. It's my lunch. And I was like, I literally mouthed the words as he said it. Never seen the movie before. I was like, I know exactly what this joke is.
You can't beat
I've seen this joke so many times.
You need to watch the Roger Moore movies. If you think this was campy, watch the Roger Moore ones.
Oh yeah,
but like
Roger Moore is so different too because he's so straight-faced in those movies. Like Roger Moore exists to be a straight man for the campiness of those movies, and it's just this weird balance of Roger Moore dressed as a clown but being completely serious about it. Like guys are throwing knives at him.
Yep.
And I need to. Which one is that? I need to see this now.
Is that Spy Who Loved Me? Or is
Yeah.
that
I think so.
Yeah.
My favorite is
God.
Live or Let Die. My favorite will always be Live or Let Die.
Actually, I have a comment about that later. But other thing I wanted to say, I didn't play the Aztec or Egypt level. I think Stuart's the only one here that suffered that wonderful fate. We haven't mentioned those at all. And I think those are cool.
You beat the game, and then you've got to beat the game again, or certain levels on like a time frame, and that gets you Egypt and Aztec, or Aztec and Egypt. First you get.
No,
Aztec.
you just gotta beat it on Secret Agent, Double Agent, respectively.
I think don't you have to beat
I
one of
thought-
the levels in 3 minutes to get Egypt?
No, I don't. I think those are just for all the cheats.
I think it might
okay,
be-
yeah, those are to get the cheats. All right.
Yeah.
So
Man.
yeah,
What was this
Aztec
game?
is essentially a level made off of Moonraker. You're in this Aztec, this old Aztec ruin with Jaws and a bunch of guys dressed in yellow jumpsuits carrying lasers, and you gotta steal the guidance system for a rocket and then set it off. And it's these two extra levels are so difficult. They exist more as like, hey, you finally beat the game. Here's a real challenge for you. And they're real difficult. Boy, I went back and I got through Aztec pretty easily. I don't consider that skill. I consider that luck. I think I just really lucked out in terms of like the enemies kind of losing me. How I played was we mentioned this earlier in the messages because we were talking about how to play the game. And I kept moving. I kept like ducking behind things and using the lean because this game does have a lean function.
Yeah.
Gaming. Use the lean a lot. Use
It does?
like pop out. Yep. If you are aiming and you like go to move left or right, you lean left and right.
I never knew that.
Yeah. It's super helpful to get like the turrets and some of the enemies that are like pretty far back.
Man, that would have made this easier.
Yeah, it definitely does. So I used the lean pretty much on every corner, and I got through Aztec no problem. And then Egypt is just a big fuck you. Egypt starts with you getting every mission starts with you getting their little documents from Q and M.
Yeah.
Moneypenny flirting with you. And just saying
is great. I love that that's in the game.
yeah, it's a nice
Even just as text. I love that they did that they went through the trouble to write all those blurbs because it really adds to it.
any mission you do with Natalia, Moneypenny's like, a day in the forest? Ooh, James, I'm getting jealous.
It's like,
I'm
like, yeah.
shooting at me, Moneypenny.
but it's like, dude, that's Bond. That's 100. That's what it is. And
It
it's
feels
like, yeah,
it feels like the stuff Bond would actually get. They all feel pretty realistic to
Yeah,
the characters.
exactly.
It's really nice. They're all written in different, and like in their kind of point of view.
yeah. And Q was always like, for fuck's sake, please bring it back this time.
My favorite with Q was whenever you got caught, he'd be like, "You're in a jail cell. No, nothing for you, Bond." Because Bond gets caught twice in this game.
Yeah.
So Egypt, yeah, you get like a little dossier that says like Baron Samedi, who's from Live and Let Die, not Live and Let Die, from
Live and Let Die.
yeah, Baron Samedi from Live and Let Die has somehow gotten the golden gun from the man with the golden gun, and he's keeping it in this Egyptian tomb for some reason.
Sure, why not?
And
Full of
you have
turrets.
to track him down and kill him and recover the golden gun. And you have to kill him 3 times. He dies and he comes back to life and he like teleports around because even though it's a Bond, he's still a voodoo master. That level is so hard. It was God, that level is so fucking hard. I did it on Double Agent and I got like to beat him twice and I just kept getting killed and I was like, all right, we're going to turn some sheets on and we're going to see if we can do it with a couple sheets. I turned on infinite ammo and all guns, and I still couldn't get past the fucking room that you go into a room and there's like 4 turrets that pop out of nowhere and they just immediately start shooting you. And if you get hit, you've like it gives you like a second of stun lock. And so you just get locked in it and you can't do anything about it. So I will
I know
say,
exactly what you're talking about. I think
I
there's a special way to do it.
yeah, you can kind of like get them. I think you can like grenade them or something really quickly. I'm not sure. It's been a long time.
One of the
I was unable to beat this level.
One of my friends who listens to who will be listening to this episode, who will be on the Dark Forces one later, he beat it on Egypt back when we were kids. I remember that. And I don't know how, but I remember that room and I remember some like secret to doing it. But that's all.
I can't remember the trick to it. It's such a difficult level. I remember like a lot of the tricks for some of the levels, like like archives. Yeah, you just like if you keep leaning on the archives level around corners, you can take out like 5 enemies and then move to the next corner.
I like archives.
Archives is a really cool one.
That's a good level. I mean, I like majority of the missions in this game. And another thing I wanted to mention, we hadn't mentioned yet, I forgot completely about this until I was typing up the outline. This game has like each level is kind of set into a mission. Like you have the first one, which is the facility stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's like
the story.
The different areas you go to. So the first one is Arkhangelsk.
And then you
had Turkish area, I guess, and you have like the dam, the facility, and then the runway. Yeah, and that's the first sequence of the movie.
Yeah.
It was just really good. It was a good game. I mean, I shouldn't say. Wait, I got to take that back in a second. It was a good game back in the day. It was fun to play again, sort of. It was fun for me because I had my rose-colored glasses and I was feeling like a 13-year-old again. But that's
It's a good game, but you have to have played it as a kid to really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I honestly I kind of want to play some of the later versions of this formula now. I sort of want to go and play like a Time Splitters game and see.
Oh, we should definitely do Time Splitters.
Yeah.
Oh man, we should. I'll play the shit out of some Time Splitters.
Yeah, just pick the good one. Just pick the good one, and we'll play it.
All right. Another thing that we mentioned, like in this game, like almost every level has a time cheat you can unlock by playing through it. You know, on a certain difficulty and a certain speed, like invisibility, invincibility. I think some of the guns you unlock, or almost all the guns you unlock that way.
You can get all guns as one sheet, and then there's other sheets of like just the gold guns. PP7, the silver PP7, the golden gun, the laser. You can unlock those individually.
I mean, and then there's also like we didn't do this because none of us were really playing multiplayer other than Kendall. Like there's all the different skins you could get. Like when I was a kid, for some reason, I really loved to use the Surface Guard. That was my skin of choice all the time. I don't know why.
I think I also did Surface Guard.
Oh shit! I just remembered a fun fact. One of the faces on the skins in there is actually Andrew Reiner from Game Informer.
I'm gonna have to go back and like look at every single character.
I didn't know that.
I totally forgot about that.
That's awesome.
And we should just get like a list of all the games that Game Informer editors have shown up in.
Can we play LA Noire in a week?
Yeah. Try to run over Dan Reichert.
You cannot.
Yeah.
That game is long.
Yeah, no.
Good game, but it's long.
That was also like just another big feature of the game is how much of the game was unlockable. I felt like that was a really big boon for it. Because it was the game like you didn't play this game by yourself. Well, some people might have, but like I felt like GoldenEye 007 when it came out. That was like the game that we're all gonna go to Tom's house and we're all gonna sit around and watch him try to beat this level in 3 minutes. It's gonna be like an event.
Yeah.
Like you would gather around to see people try to get through a level in 3 minutes.
You guys ready for listener questions? Any last things you want to say?
I've got a couple of little multiplayer anecdotes that I wanted to share. So first of all, I talked to a handful of people. First of all, does anybody know can somebody explain why Odd Job is bullshit? I just every time this comes up,
he's short. I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah, the idea was that because he was short. However, I think this was the main. I think it turned into like it was a thing that some people had difficulty with, and it turned into kind of like a meme now. But I think like that was the thing that made me really good at aiming. Was we didn't ban Odd Job as kids, and I had a friend that always wanted to play Odd Job, and so if you just aim down a little bit, you can kill him really easily because if you aim down just slightly, you get a headshot automatically.
Right. Okay, cool. I felt like we needed to address that.
Yeah.
So I talked to my boss because my boss wanted me to come into work tonight, but I told him no, I got to do a GoldenEye podcast. and he said when he was in college, he had some friends that were so into GoldenEye that they rigged up 4 televisions so that you could each one had one quadrant of the screen.
Yeah.
And they would play on one N64, 4 televisions,
nice,
and play multiplayer.
How do you even do that?
I don't know, and it sounds like it would be way more work than it would be worth.
It sounds like witchcraft.
Well, like, GoldenEye was one of those games where it was an honor system. You did not have different. This was a couch co-op game or a couch multiplayer game. You know, screen cheating was a very real problem.
True.
So I wanted to bring that up, and this is my boss he plays golf. He's not a gamer, you know, and he knew it right away. Another one of my coworkers said that when he was in college, he played Goldeneye, and I think he said it was Shenmue.
Okay.
And just missed all of his classes in college. But then I have a
I like that he played Shenmue, a game that requires you to get a part-time job. And he missed his classes because he was working in a fake game.
So I have a Nintendo 64 that is always plugged into my television, and when I have people over, I force them to play Nintendo 64 multiplayer games, whether they want to or not. We had my best friend and his wife over, who is also a very good friend of mine, and she grew up with a Nintendo 64. Me, my wife, and my best friend, we did not. None of us did. Like my wife and I have tried to be the kid that owns the N64 and like get good at games and then have people over, but we're so abysmal at video games that it never works. So we set up, we're playing GoldenEye multiplayer, and my best friend's wife is named her name is Laurel. Laurel just destroys us, and she is not a gamer. Like when we're playing Smash Brothers at a party and all getting drunk or whatever, she does not participate. She's in the other room, I don't know, talking about fashion or something. And she just mopped the floor with us. It was crazy. It was like her muscle memory was like perfect. It was, so there is a special place in a lot of people's hearts for this game.
I feel like if you played it as a kid, because everyone was so forgiving back in, the 90s for gaming in general. I mean, just for gaming, not for other stuff, but it was the only game that people were playing at people's houses. It was like the best shooter that everybody had, at least, according to how everybody's friends we're going to go around and play 007. And so you had to forgive so much of it. You had to get good with it. And people who played
what
kids,
else are you going to play? Sarge's Heroes?
You're not going to play, Super Mario 64? Get that shit out of here.
Mario Party.
Because you had to get so good at it, you learned it. I feel like anybody who played this game as a kid, I would not want to go up against them in this game now, because it's how much do you remember? I know how much I remember, but do you remember enough to be really good? Because everyone had that one friend that was just stupid good at this game. For my friends, it was me, but
I had two. My friend Peter, who was really, really good at this freaking game.
That's even worse because if both of them are playing it, you're just like there as well.
A funny story. One time it was me and my friend Rich, and we had these other two friends, and they were like 3 years older than us. And we played them before, and the guy's always talking about how great he is at GoldenEye. And what my friend did is he put in the invisibility code with the controller.
Oh no!
When playing the multiplayer match, and the guy's like, "I don't see you." He's like, and he just kept killing him. He turned it off every so often, run by someone and die, but then he turned it back on. And the guy was getting so mad at us because he couldn't figure out what was going on. He was just pissed off and left because he always talked, "Oh, I'm so great at games. He could beat the original Metroid," and he was just that kind of guy, really good at stuff.
I mean, that's
a
feat.
Bad.
That's a feat, actually.
Different.
That's one of those games you have to draw a map for.
This is one of those games too, where like you had different multiplayer modes, and I feel like that was a big part of it as well. So it wasn't you didn't just have deathmatch. You had like License to Kill, which was like one hit kills you no matter what. The Golden Gun. Slappers only. Yeah, get out of here, Michael Myers. This game had slappers only, way ahead of its time.
Okay, I do really like that they made the melee a karate chop.
Yeah,
because it
has the wacky.
Again, they took that from the movie. They took that there's this scene in the movie where he's behind like the female assassin lady in a car, and it's the stupidest thing ever. It's just this cheesy 90s movie thing where he knocks her out by karate chopping the back of her head. Like, what? That's not anything. What is that?
Excuse me, sir. That assassin lady was named Xenia Onatop.
Oh, yes. Least. Oh, well, I'm not going to say least subtle name ever because
it became a joke within Bond to have like, Octopussy is probably
Pussy
the big
Galore
one.
Was another one.
That's actually more subtle.
That's one of the reasons I love Archer so much.
As Bond femme fatale names go, it's one of the more subtle ones.
One of the reasons I love Archer so much is like if you love Bond, then I think you have to love Archer because it's just such a throwback.
Honestly, I have no particular affection for Bond, but I love Archer.
Just so good.
Never watched it yet.
So,
Oh, it's great.
So the other multiplayer thing that just came to mind, there's always the one broken controller, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
For whatever reason, everybody always had 4 N64 controllers and one was broken.
Or alternately, 4 of them and one of them was a horrible like Mad Catz third party monstrosity.
No one could ever buy a 4th standard Nintendo 64 controller. It was a third party see-through controller that they bought because it looked cool.
It's harder than you think. I have 3 first party controllers and one I have the retro thing that is good that I like, but and then I actually bought like 4 third-party controllers because every one of them was garbage. So don't buy third-party N64 controllers if you're wanting to do an N64. Just like wait, you can find them. They're like $20 or $30 or whatever. If you if you have a good retro gaming store in your town, you just have to wait until they show up though. Like.
What you have to do is you have to drive to your nearest small town and find the one thrift store / electronics store.
Yeah,
and they will inevitably have a 64.
Yeah, controller. You could maybe,
or you go to the smallest town in your area, hit up the Salvation Army. There will be a Nintendo 64 there. There always is for some reason. Every small town I've gone to has one.
No, so for me though, actually in my experience, it's a Dreamcast. It's a Dreamcast, but it doesn't have the cables. Yeah. This is a very consistent, like I've been to multiple Goodwills and that is always what's there.
So there's a retro gaming store like right at Stone Store from my apartment that I've been in and I do remember one of the first times going in there and they had at least a dozen Dreamcasts. Like that, like one of every other system, but a dozen Dreamcasts.
It's like the weird thing where like the nukes are gonna fall and the world will be wiped out, and there'll still be 30,000 Nintendo 64s and Dreamcasts existing in like all across the Midwest.
Ironically, like Dreamcast games.
The Walking Dead should just be them trying to find all the Dreamcasts in existence.
It should be them trying to find the AV cable.
Yeah.
Just like, I have everything else. Just where's that damn composite cable?
Carl's got the Dreamcast and they're searching through the East Coast trying to find that cable.
Okay, let's get us back.
All right.
I looking through our listener question. We answered almost every one of these throughout our conversation so far.
Nice.
But the one that we didn't answer that I don't think really did, from Frank, which is the better map? Complex, facility, or the library?
We talking multiplayer?
Multiplayer, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to take myself out of this discussion because I was not able to play multiplayer for this one.
I haven't played since I was a kid, but as a kid, Complex was my favorite. Never really played Facility, and I didn't even remember the library until I just read this, and it was archives essentially. But I never liked it.
I think obviously Stewart's is the Facility, so he could sit in the bathroom stall with a laser gun.
Well, okay, my friend would always cheat and get the by cheat I mean he would get the golden gun first, and so my only choice was to hide in a corner.
Yeah, because I can think of where the golden gun is in the Facility. Yeah. That's like one of the only stages that I've played enough times because it's like one that I just go straight to. So yeah, that's the best one.
I feel like, I think Facility was my favorite because Facility was always the one where, like I said, people used to settle arguments in GoldenEye. It was like the trial by combat thing where anytime we had an argument, we would settle which Pokemon was better, not by playing Pokemon, but by starting 007 GoldenEye and saying, okay, license to kill Facility 1v1. We'll see who wins. Whoever wins is right.
Oh, and I got one more that I was rereading this that would be good that we didn't answer yet. From a Chris. Did anybody try the dual stick controller setup?
I meant to.
I forgot about it.
There is one?
I guess, yeah. I forgot all about this.
Yeah, you play with 2 N64 controllers.
What?
Yeah, I really meant to do that because I have them. But I didn't.
Oh my god, that is insane.
What even is that?
All right. Well, I think at some point in the future we have to do this.
Yeah. I think I tried it I did it once as a kid or something, and we tried to do like one person moves and one person aims.
That just sounds terrible.
Just to see if we could do it. That was like the era of, can we do this? Like it's like playing like Resident Evil and trying to beat the game with a knife or just a handgun. It's like, How difficult can we make this game for ourselves?
So, shall we?
Yes.
Yeah, as normal, I have Tiffany here for some trivia for us.
Hello.
Hi.
Is this going to be game trivia or general Bond trivia?
I'm not sure.
General Bond trivia.
Okay.
All
It's gonna be
right.
hard.
I have a
All
chance
right.
at this.
Okay, what movies is Q referred to by his real name?
Whoa. Okay, I'm
Oh,
out.
man.
I don't know this either, surprisingly.
Goldmember.
Do you know his real name?
No, I don't. Also,
Oh.
Goldmember was Austin Powers.
Goldmember. This is Yellow Goldmember.
That would be wrong answer, but go ahead.
Well, I
Well,
know
what was
Q
the
stood
first
for
one?
quartermaster.
Yeah.
It became just a nickname.
What was
I'm
the
gonna say-
first Bond movie? It was probably in the first one, wasn't
Dr.
it?
No.
That's one of them, yes.
Well, Stefan was right. We'll go with Dr. No one. From Russia with Love?
Yes. And
Is
there's
he
one more.
technically referred to by his real name in Spectre? Because he's introduced before he's Q, right?
I've never seen Spectre, unfortunately.
His real name is
Boothroyd or
Major Boothroyd.
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all, but okay.
Yeah.
And the other one I have is The Spy Who Loved Me. Wait, isn't it else? Okay. What was the first movie that was not solely based on the novel?
It was Gold.
Goldeneye.
No.
No,
No, it's from
that
before
wasn't the
that.
first one. There was another one. Oh God, what
International
was
Man of Mystery.
Oh God, no. Okay, not solely
Uh,
based on a novel because
Oh God.
hold on,
Thunderball?
because Goldeneye was not based on a novel at all.
No,
right?
Goldeneye-
Casino Royale based on a novel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Casino Royale is actually his first novel.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Is it Diamonds Are Forever?
It is The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, I was thinking that too.
Uh,
All right, we can do the quick polls. I did in 3 different groups. I asked everybody's favorite Bond and added all the numbers together. 169 said Daniel Craig,
Okay.
149 said Connery,
Really?
123 for Pierce, 44 for Moore, 32 for Dalton, and 19 for Lazenby, which I was not expecting.
wow.
I mean, you always have the holdouts. People saying Lazenby's the best.
It's
You
a decent
know,
movie.
I was not expecting Craig to win.
Me either. When I did this
Yeah.
poll, I was not at all, and
I mean,
I
he's
was
the
really
current
surprised.
Bond. People like him a lot right now.
Yeah, but he's toned down a lot from like
Yeah.
previous Bonds.
You don't
I-
get the
He's like
Yeah.
Bond light.
I don't
Yeah.
love him as Bonds. It's hard to. It's like picking like the next Doctor Who. Like you gotta like figure out who can really embody that character.
Honestly,
well.
after having seen a good bit of Craig, Brosnan, and Connery, I gotta say, my personal preference is Brosnan.
Brosnan is a great.
Yeah.
he does a great job because he
Yeah,
he
yeah.
can do that like that class and that kind of
Yeah,
action
he's
stuff really
just the right balance of classy and goofy. Because man, he walks on the screen and you're like, oh, who is that?
good.
It's just like this instant like poise and magnetism, and then he opens his mouth, and then you just slap your forehead and groan. You're like, yep, there's Bond. There he is.
I keep arguing that to complete this like fun little trilogy, Bill Nighy has to play the next Bond because Timothy Dalton was in Hot Fuzz and Pierce Brosnan was in At World's End and Bill Nighy was in Shaun of the Dead. So if Bill Nighy plays the next Bond, then all 3 Bonds will have been in all
No,
3
you know
Cornetto
what?
movies.
You know what? Let's just cut right to the chase. Let's just make Nick Frost Bond.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
terrible.
I'm going to see him and he's going to be at GalaxyCon. I'm going to see him at the end of May. I should tell him that.
I mean,
Give him to sign something and be like, by the way, when are you going to be the next Bond? Forget it. As much as I love Idris Elba, Nick Frost as Bond would be fucking
yeah, that's what I was gonna
hysterical.
say. I like the idea of Idris Elba as.
I
That'd be
don't
good.
know why they aren't like. They just need to make Idris Elba Bond. Everyone keeps saying like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's too old." Like, fuck
Idris
that.
Elba, no, Idris Elba would make a really good Bond.
That man
And
just
he-
bleeds
he's English
class.
too, right?
He is English. He's so
He's-
English.
Yeah, he is the Englishest.
He is so classy and like, oh my god, he's the perfect Bond.
And then I also did 3 polls for the movies. I was not expecting this. Casino Royale had 101 votes. I'm not gonna read all, just the top ones. Goldeneye had 62. Skyfall had 42.
Which
Oh.
Casino Royale, the new one or the
See,
old one?
these are
new one.
again, these are not the ones I was expecting.
Me either.
Sky- Skyfall
Goldfinger, one of my favorites, had 21.
Skyfall was.
Let's see.
Goldfinger is trash. I'll say it right now. I don't care. I don't care
great.
who.
Oh man,
gets mad.
Goldfinger is like.
Man, that's a great movie. That
That
is my
movie is
favorite
ridiculous
Bond.
in the best ways.
Oh, you're
Goldfinger is so dumb, and it's not even the good kind of dumb.
It's the best kind of dumb. Every soldier at Fort Knox falling down, pretending to fall down and pass out.
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
Okay, you know what? That was pretty good.
And
It
then
really is so funny.
From Russia with Love had 14 Votes. Another one I really like a lot. That is a great spy movie. It's a great simple movie. That
might be my favorite Connery one.
And then I was not expecting this. Number 6, well, tied with number 6, From Russia was 5. Number 6 was On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Okay.
With 13.
That's a pretty important one.
Yeah, and then Live and Let Die was 9, and then everything else was like 4 and 5 for all the rest of them.
Live and Let Die is my favorite, and it has the best opening sequence.
What, the Gator one?
No, I mean the title theme with
Oh yeah.
Yeah, by fucking Paul McCartney at the Wings. Yeah, Paul and Linda McCartney.
I got to hear that song live when he first came back and toured back in the U.S.
So jealous. That song is so good.
It was great. They had the flames shooting out from the barrels. Oh, it was amazing. I
want that to be I might make it my ringtone at some point. That's such a great song. Yeah.
Should we start?
Let's go to Shelf and Box.
Kendall, since you're our special guest, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, this game lives on my shelf. It probably will sit in the N64 that is on my shelf connected to the TV for some time. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be it's right up there with the original Super Smash Brothers and Cruis'n USA. It's good stuff.
DJ, let's hear your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we guess your opinion?
Yeah.
Shelf for sure, 100%.
Yeah, 100%
yeah,
shelf.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got one for Shelf. What else? Who else is step right up? Place your bets.
Put my money on Shelf.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Box.
Okay.
Just because.
All right.
Just to be different, just so you can win.
Yeah.
Kendall, what do you think I'm gonna say?
What I think you are going to say Box.
Okay. Well, Mike and Stu, you're right. I'm putting this on my no. No, this is going in my box. This is one of those games where what you think of it depends a lot on whether you played it. It depends on your memories of it from when you were a kid. And I never played this as a kid. And so I went in and I was like, oh, well, this looks like garbage. It controls like garbage. I'm getting shot and I can't tell from where. I can't aim. I can't figure out the layout of any of these levels. Coming in now as an adult in the modern day, there's just a lot of barriers. But here's the thing. I can see the appeal. I can see there is genuine love and care that went into this game. They built it to feel like the ultimate Bond experience. And even though I was like, well, I went into this thinking you can't possibly capture what a Bond movie feels like with just a basic shooter formula. That it's so much more than that. You can't really do. And I was wrong. They totally encapsulated what a Bond movie feels like using some really basic building blocks, but they did it. They really made it feel like Bond, which I think is an achievement in itself. I do like the sort of mission-based structure, and I'd love to go on and play some more games that took that structure and improved on it and refined it, like the Time Splitters games. So yeah, I can definitely see the appeal. And again, I would have loved to have played the multiplayer, although I probably would have been that kid who ran out of the room crying. I think if I could somehow find a way to do the multiplayer of this game, I would like to give it a shot. Although I will say in general, I'm not a huge multiplayer guy. I like Mario Party and Smash, and that's about it as far as multiplayer goes for me. But I would like to give it a try. I am, at least after talking about it, more intrigued. I can see what people love about this game. It just, I just came to it too late, basically. And I do look forward to experiencing better versions of this formula or experiencing it, in a better context. But as it is right now, I have no particular affection for it. It's for now, it's going in the box.
Stefan, what's your opinion? I'm pretty sure I know, but
it's really hard to say in the fact that I actually don't see myself like sitting down and saying, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna play some Goldeneye." I don't see myself saying that. Probably rather play Resident Evil 2 or something.
I'm
But
so
the thing is,
surprised.
yeah. The thing is that it does hold, and I'm sure, some of us already said that we kind of feel this way. It does hold a special place of memories, like spending hours in my room with my dad and playing multiplayer and all my friends coming over and just like eating pizza and sitting there till like midnight, just bombing each other and kicking ass and not playing Odd Job to be a dick. So it's hard because it's like if somebody brought it over, I'd play it. I'd be like, all right, yeah, let's do that. Let's do it on Double O. Let's give it a go. But I don't particularly see myself playing it. So it's kind of hard to say if I'd want it on the shelf or the box. I'm leaning towards shelf just because of fond memories.
So we're going to say shelf for you?
I'll say shelf, but only because of that. Otherwise, it would go in the box.
It's a 12-year-old Stefan putting it on the shelf, huh?
Exactly. Current Stefan's like, yeah.
It's pretty impressive considering the shelf is pretty high. And
I mean, there is a
bottom
shelf. Just put it on the bottom.
I'm going to say shelf, obviously. I mean, this game, it was the first game I played. It was so important to me. Just like and this is probably like the beginning of like my entire video game memory. It's just, GoldenEye, going over to friends' houses to play it and having the whole argument of like, oh, we need to ban this and stuff, and no more, like, to the point of like, oh, no more proximity bombs on this level because people are cheating with them, even though you're just playing the game I was supposed to be playing. You're like, oh, you're too good with it, you cheated. Yeah,
that's my favorite mode.
Like the ultimate after-school game of we got nothing to do, let's go play GoldenEye at so-and-so's house. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna play multiplayer for 5 hours until we have to go home. This game is one of the reasons I was given a cell phone at a young age, just because I would get off the bus and go to friends' houses, and my parents didn't know where I was. They were like, "Here, have this old shitty cell phone so we can at least call you when you don't show up at home for 5 hours."
And I mean, the multiplayer holds up. I gotta emphasize,
multiplayer
holds up really well. And if you have an N64 and you have 4 controllers and you have this and like 3 other games, like that's an evening that you can have you and your spouse and your friend and their spouse, and you live the dream.
And you know what? Yeah, it's janky, but it's janky for everyone playing it, so you're all on equal grounds.
Plus, and we're adults, so when we throw parties, the most anyone will show up is 4 people.
Yeah.
So yes. N64 is perfect.
Oh god, it's
accurate.
This game just it's so fun for me still to go through, and I do like shooters, so I mean, like, just going back to seeing the early framework of some of my favorite games. Like, the level design is great. I usually make a point to call it like the composition for games, and the composition for this game is just Bond music. So
yeah,
Bond music's great. I'm totally cool with just hearing Bond music for
music is good in this. Like, it's good. Like,
it's Grant Kirkhope.
Yep.
He's solid.
It is. It's Grant Kirkhope. Yeah, it's Grant Kirkhope, but it's him doing Bond music.
It's him doing Bond. Yeah. This is actually, he did this. He composed this game before Banjo-Kazooie. So this is kind of Grant Kirkhope before he was Grant Kirkhope.
It's just him like taking the Bond music, tweaking it a little bit. It's still that Bond music. You still have that the wild trumpet coming in.
Yeah, and props to him, because basically this entire soundtrack is the Bond main theme just arranged in 50 different ways.
It does have that great there's a little bit of music thrown in towards the end of GoldenEye that they used for the like bunker and facility maps, where it's like it's got that, like, I don't know what to call it. It's almost like that like metallic, like echoey sound from really far away. You know what I'm talking about? It sounds like somebody's hitting 2 metal pipes together in like an alley across the street.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's got that like really like industrial noise to it, and I think it works really well in GoldenEye the movie. It works really well in GoldenEye the game. It's iconic Bond music at this point, and it's just it's so fun to play. It's definitely going on my shelf. I had a lot of fun with this as a kid, and I had a lot of fun with it now.
All right, now I'll go last. 13-year-old Mike would have put this on the shelf for sure, because I had so much great time with this game. 31-year-old Mike was putting it right in the box. Because, I mean, sure, it was kind of fun playing it, but it was really just because I was reliving my childhood, and I honestly have no desire to go back to this game ever. I can't recapture those old memories, but it was fun to try to experience them for a little bit. I would never had see myself playing this game again. I never would even touch it. It wasn't for this show, but it definitely go in the box because I don't want to play it again. It wasn't for me.
But how's 12-year-old Mike gonna reach the shelf?
Look,
There's
like
such
all
a
short
thing
at 12.
as
I
a
wasn't
lot
calling
of
you out
shelf,
specifically.
guys. You can just bend down.
Everybody was short at 12.
All right. I think we're just gonna do some quick plugs. Kendall, since you're the guest, you want to go first and tell where people can find you?
So you can follow me on Twitter at khallman. That's KHALMAN. And then my website, Kendallcast, KENDALLCAST.ninja. Also the Kendallcast feed on whatever podcatcher that you use. I guess I'm on Stitcher and the Apple thing and all the bootleg ones that go off the Apple feeds. And just
link services everywhere.
I'll just give you my quick elevator pitch for the sort of shows that I do. Beyond Bulbasaur, we talk about a different Pokemon every week. That's what we called Music with a Question Mark. Is a song by song review of the Now That's What I Call Music catalog. The Pull List podcast.
That is genius.
The Pull List podcast is a monthly comic book review podcast, and then this year, in the run-up to Star Wars Episode 9, I'm doing a monthly Star Wars roundtable where we're discussing all the Star Wars movies.
I really like that. Now that's what I call music idea. That's really funny.
It is 100% steeped in rose-colored glasses and nostalgia. I do it with my wife and sister-in-law, and it's a lot of fun.
That was the soundtrack to my 8th birthday party. Was Now That's What I Call Music 4.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Okay. We're
on volume 3.
You're still on. Okay.
We do like specials for all the other countries where that like comes out. Like I think they do one for Saudi Arabia.
No, we haven't done that. No, but we did just do our episode on What's My Age Again, which was interesting because it's one of the songs that like is by a band that like without shame or irony a lot of people like. So
I do.
I do.
I like that song too.
All right.
And if you guys heard earlier, and as I'll have in the notes, if you guys get a chance, please take a listen to This Week in Video Games. It's a podcast where he dives into what's all going on with the news and different video games. I don't have it pulled up in the moment. And also, if you guys get a chance, I actually guest starred on my first show, Trash Talk, which should be published around the time this show is up. I will have a link also in the show notes if it is up, and also on the Facebook page, where I got drunk and talked about Castlevania. Please, if you guys can follow us on Facebook, I'm constantly posting new things on there. Anything else you guys want to plug real quick? Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to plug Now That's What I Call Arabia 5-3. Came out 2001. I had to look it up.
Well, while you're doing that, I want to shout out real quick to Mike Stoney, a.k.a. Bulby, who very graciously provided our theme song, The Cool Kids Squad, off of his EP, Bite the Bullet. You can find Mike on his SoundCloud. You can also find him on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Bulby, B-U-L-B-Y. He's got a ton of really cool 8 and 16-bit video game remixes up there, as well as some of his own stuff. So go check him out.
You know, I just realized we forgot. We didn't say what game we're playing next week, DJ.
Yeah, I was just getting to that. So next week,
I mentioned it earlier.
Next week,
Yeah, you did.
I'm very, very excited, everyone. Oh, it's a childhood favorite of mine. It's a lesser-known game known
Persona
as...
3?
Yeah. Always got to steal my thunder. No, it's Bomberman Tournament for the Game Boy Advance.
I'll be playing Persona 3.
So here's the elevator pitch, everybody. It's a Bomberman game that is a Zelda clone and also a Pokemon clone. It's weird, it's great, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that, so everyone should tune in.
Definitely.
It's an oddball.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot, too. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for listening and everyone who's sticking around, and you guys have a great day.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye,
we love you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Like the